Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Marvel. Reborn is a magic book, and you will get it back 10,000 times returns. Chapter 61. But now I can't. At this time, Lin Yu looked at Bono quietly here, but Bono said to Lin Yu. What happened? Why are you looking at me like this? If there is anything you need to tell me truthfully. If I can help here, I will do my best. Quote. Lin Yu also shook his head slightly when he heard this sentence. He also told Bono about Caecilius and Magician. The current big devil, Magician, is coming here soon and will attack him. Bono was worried that he had no opponent, because he had just understood all the things Lin Yu had given him. He felt that his strength had also improved a lot. So he wanted to find a strong person to compete with. Now that the great Magician is here, isn't he here to help you and compete with yourself? He firmly believed that he would not fail. But Lin Yu knew exactly what the problem was, and Lin Yu was tossing and turning here. Lin Yu thought that once he helped Bono in front of him, he would definitely be grateful to him. Since he had already told Bono, but Bono had no intention of leaving, Lin Yu should not inquire further. Lin Yu also made his position very clear. But now Magician has finally found Bono in front of him after a long journey and many twists and turns. And he also saw the magic book in Bono's hand. He remembered that this magic book was what his boss Caecilius needed. As long as he holds the magic book in his hands, he can give Caecilius a good explanation. And Caecilius will never attack him again, let alone show off his power to him. Only this is the safest way. So he quietly looked at Bono in front of him and said to this person. Now that you have come in front of me, do you want to surrender? Bono is also confused now. This would have been if Lin Yu hadn't told him that the Magician wanted to fight him when he found him. He thought this person was just an uninvited guest. After pondering here for a long time, he asked the Magician righteously what he thought about finding him. If there is, then tell yourself, if not, there is no need to show off here. But at this time, the big devil Magician also asked Bono to hand over the magic book in his hand. As long as he takes it out, he won't attack him, but if he doesn't take it, he can't blame himself. After he said these words, he was also using his peripheral vision to look at Bono in front of him. If this person really doesn't hand it over, then a war will be inevitable. Bono also snorted coldly at this time. He was now holding Lin Yu's magic book in his hand, also pointing at the nose of the Magician here. After insulting him as a mere magician, he dared to show off his power in front of him. Don't think that Magician is some tyrannical person. Bono is not afraid at all now. He also released some of the things he got from Lin Yu. After arranging his hands, he also hooked his hand at the Magician. Today he wants to show the Magician what it means to be powerful. What is called Kung Fu. Not everyone can take away this magic book. It would be absolutely impossible for the person in front of me to take it away. At this time, Bono also launched an attack on the Magician, and Lin Yu kept watching from the sky. If an accident occurs, he will also help. But if no accident occurs, then Lin Shui can give it a try. And after getting rid of the big demon Magician, he might be able to use Lin Yu's body to directly condense into a human form. This is also what he hopes for most. However, the great demon Magician at the moment also released his own dark power, as well as magic power. Immediately, two black and white pythons appeared in the city, surrounding Bono in front of him. After Bono was surrounded by these two pythons, he also shouted loudly and released his domineering power. He directly shattered the two python dragons and punched the Magician in front of him. But now the big devil Magician directly used his own power of darkness to offset this power. After doing this series of things, he also said to Bono here. You can't beat me now, so why don't you just surrender? Bono also saw that the Magician in front of him was just a puppet. However, the puppet with the power of darkness is not something he can easily fight against. This thing should have been created by Caecilius. Otherwise, in this world, except Caecilius, who else could create someone as rich in dark power as the Magician? Only Caecilius fell into the power of darkness and absorbed this force zone. Bono also said to the Magician, are there any benefits to yourself if you go through fire and water for Caecilius? You might as well surrender to me with all your strength, and I will definitely do my best to help you. Hearing these words, the magician in front shook his head. It is impossible for him to betray his master, no matter what the outside world says. He is him after all, and his master is his master after all. Without Caecilius, there is no telling when he would have gained life. So the magician in front of me still yearns for Caecilius. At the moment, Caecilius in front of him used his huge power to directly transport it to the magician remotely. He could feel that magician's current power was still a little sluggish. There is also a black light shining in the distant sky. And this light is the actual power of darkness to prosper the city, and this power also directly enters the body of the great demon magician. The current magician is also here, quietly watching everything in front of him. Then I laughed out loud here. Magician also stretched out his finger and pointed directly at Bono. The power of darkness is like a sharp sword, attacking Bono. Now Bono also quickly resisted, but he was pierced by this dark force in his arm. He also felt pain, and he was now clenching his crown. Looking at the magic book, he wanted Lin Yu to teach him some physical strength. See if you can use your physical body to fight the magician. But Lin Yu didn't move or speak here. If Bono in front of him loses, he will definitely use his magic book to rescue Bono. But if Bono was really successful and there were no accidents, he wouldn't rescue him here. Lin Yu would not let Bono die anyway. He also said to Bono at the moment, "It's not that I won't hand over this technique to you, it's just that physical strength requires a certain amount of time to be honed. If I hand it over to you now, you will be in great danger. And there will be many problems with this power in your body. By that time, it will be extremely bad for you." After saying this, Bono also suddenly realized. It turns out that there is such a origin. His thoughts were running wild here too. Because if he didn't use the magic book Lin Yu, he would never be able to defeat the magician. But now the great devil magician has concentrated all his power in front of himself and will not let himself leave here. This is what makes Bono most embarrassed. Bono can't fight or run now. The magician immediately asked her to hand over the magic book. But Bono also regards magic books as treasures. Anyone who wants to get a magic book can get it. Only Caecilius wanted to get it and it was absolutely impossible for him to give it to him. After all, Caecilius is also quite depressed and quite inhumane. Bono said to the magician at this time, "Wouldn't it be better for you to surrender to me now? Do you have to go along with Caecilius? How does he treat you? Don't you have closure in your own heart?" The magician never allowed anyone to speak ill of Caecilius. His life was given by Caecilius, so he would go to pieces for Caecilius. Since Bono persists in his obsession, he will kill him himself. Now he also directly attacked Bono at an extremely fast speed. He punched Bono directly in the abdomen, invading all the power of darkness from his side into Bono's body. Now Bono is also miserable, and for the first time he feels that he will make a mistake. He also silently lowered his mind here, knowing that he would definitely die here today. But before he died, he had to tell Lin Yu what he had done for Lin Yu. He also said quietly here to Lin Yu in front of him, "You should have seen by now that I have given everything I have. But I still can't beat the magician. Since I have to live and die here today, I must also send you away." After saying that, Bono grabbed the magic book and tried to throw it out. But Lin Yu, who was in front of at the moment, also stopped Bono. He told Bono that he didn't need to worry and could take him away. Bono had never felt that Lin Yu was such a reliable person. However, even the domineering energy he possesses in his body cannot leave this place. Can Lin Yu just leave? After all, this thing is shocking for others to hear. What kind of method is used to do this? No one knows now, but Bono is also in a daze here at this moment. He hoped that Lin Yu could implement things instead of talking to him verbally. Lin Yu was also driving the magic book at an extremely fast speed. I understood a series of things directly, and the magic book also rotated quickly. Something similar to a teleportation array also appeared. Now Bono saw this black hole, and it looked like a teleportation array. He also cheered here, but magician never found out where this problem occurred. 450. After he gritted his teeth here, he also looked at the other party silently. He also coughed twice and said to Bono, "If you have the ability, don't come and fight me." But Bono is not a fool. If he continues to fight the magician, he will. Then there will be many problems on my side. Once these problems really arise, won't I die? By that time, wouldn't I regret it? So Bono must leave here now. Since Lin Yu can help him, he also owes Lin Yu a favor. He also understood why Lin Yu tried his best to help him. Isn't the reason just that he wants to help him regain his physical form as a Xingqiang person? If he could escape death today, he would definitely help Lin Yu. He also told Lin Yu these words, and Lin Yu worked even harder. He used all the power in his magic book. Bono also looked at the magician in front of him and left here quietly. The great demon magician saw that there was no one in front of him, and all these people ran away. He is also full of questions here. It seems that the magic book is not really a magic book. No wonder Caecilius wanted to get it. Now he also wants to communicate with Caecilius here. But Caecilius saw everything here early. Caecilius also said to the magician in front of him, "Why didn't you pursue me just now? If you pursue us, we may still have a chance to take possession of the magic book." Quote. Unexpectedly, the magician expressed his thoughts. If I pursue Lin Yu, there will definitely be problems on my side, and I may even be seriously injured. Or he might die in Bono's hands. After all, the magic book also has the power to harm others. Caecilius didn't know what to say now. The power in the magic book is indeed very strong, but Lin Yu can only use it once or twice. If he could resist, he would not die, but now it has no effect. After all, Bono has already left, and Caecilius also allows the magician to rest peacefully here for a while. He also had to judge again where Bono had escaped to. Only after he has made his own judgment can he tell the magician such news. Only then can he continue to search. He feels that magician is now a bit stubborn. If he had known this, he should have used the lives of his subordinates to create the magician. But now it was too late for him to regret it, because it had already happened. The big devil magician has also been created, and he even wants to kill the big devil magician. The power of darkness that recreates his current state does not allow him to do so. So now Caecilius can only break his teeth and swallow it in his stomach. At this moment, the magician in front of him slowly felt the power in his body improving bit by bit. On the other side, Bono also came to a vast lawn. He saw this lawn like a good brother. But he was also here quietly asking Lin Yu how to take him away from the place where he had just fought. What kind of trick is this? Lin Yu also told Bono all his methods. I also hope that Bono can have a good understanding at this moment, and Bono also suddenly realizes it. It turned out that it was for this reason that he nodded here. But at the moment, he was looking at each other at an extremely fast speed. He knew what Lin Yu was going to say now, and he took the lead and said it to Lin Yu. I also need to gather my strength well. And I also need to release all the domineering energy in my body and raise it to its peak. Only in this way can I help you condense your physical body, and you don't have to worry so much now. Quote. After saying this, Lin Yu in front of him was also extremely happy. In this case, he can wait for him here with peace of mind and watch silently. The Bono in front also shielded this place, and his shielding technique was still very powerful. Anyway, it is impossible for ordinary people to see that Bono and this magic book are here. At this time, Bono slowly sat here and released all his domineering power. After going out and wandering into his own body, he now feels that the power these domineering energy brings to him is also very powerful. Here he also slowly integrated all his domineering energy into his dantian. After he finished this series of things, he also felt powerful. He looked at each other here silently. He also stood up here. Because his domineering power has now been restored. It seems to be fleeting, but in fact it happens a lot. And it can't be so simple for him to regain his domineering power. He also swallowed a panacea, and now Bono strolled to the front of the magic book. He wanted to know how he could help Lin Yu recover. Lin Yu also asked him to look for snow lotus and shaping fruit. Only after getting these two things can you use your domineering power to shape your magic book. The shaping fruit and snow lotus were the most important things. Bono had no idea where these two things were. Lin Yu also pointed to the east. The snow lotus in front of him must be growing on the top of the mountain. And the mountain must be very high, so only the mountain in the east has snow lotus. The plastic fruit is relatively rare and can be bought in any market. Even if he couldn't buy it in the market, Bono could easily find it by using the people on his side. Lin Yu also fell asleep again. Now he must retain his energy and strength to prepare for his transformation into a human form. At this time, Bono was also heading north, and when he left, he came to a high mountain. He also saw that there was nothing in this high mountain. He was also full of questions. Isn't this the way Lin Yu pointed out? Doesn't Lin Yu know anything? He also became more and more suspicious of Lin Yu. But at this time, Lin Yu didn't have any hesitation. He directly handed over a series of his things and the locator to Bono. Now Bono has also found it, and the thing in front of him is the snow lotus. He was also in a daze after seeing Shuilian. This all-white lotus flower turned out to be an important link in helping Lin Yu shape her body. He can't believe it now, but now that snow lotus is in his hands, why shouldn't he believe it? Here he was silently looking at Lin Yu in front of him. He also knew that the shaping fruit Lin Yu would definitely not be able to help him. And Lin Yu doesn't need this thing at all. He can find it by himself with help. He also found a good friend of his, whom he believed had great supernatural powers. He must be able to tell where he owns the plastic surgery studio, but this friend also saw Bono in front of him. He also asked Bono why he used the shaping fruit. Logically speaking, this kind of thing should not be used by people with a soft heart, but why would Bono want to use it? Without a reason, he would not have given the fruit to Bono. After all, if this fruit is not used properly, something amazing will happen, and Bono may be seriously injured. Bono also said it truthfully. He also needed help to create his own body alone. This good brother finally understood, and he took out the shaping fruit that he had treasured for a long time. However, this person also has hundreds of shaping fruits in his hands, and he sells this kind of thing. So it is very normal for him to have that in his hand. After Bono got the fruit, he also gave this person a certain amount of money. The current man didn't want the money, and Bono didn't approve of it very much, so he had to give it to him. This person did not play any more tricks and directly took the money into his own hands. I also told Bono that he must use it well. If you don't use it well, you can't blame yourself if problems arise. Anyway, he had told Bono all the problems and consequences of this fruit. After hearing this, Bono left quietly and returned to the grassland again. Also looked at this magic book by Lin Yu. He also placed the magic book on the ground. Placed the shaping fruit and snow lotus next to the magic book. Now he was looking at each other silently here, and then said to Lin Yu. You have to be prepared, I am here to help you too, account. Quote. After hearing this, Lin Yu also meditated in his book. Now Lin Yu also feels that everything he owns has become saturated. Moreover, the mission on his side has been accomplished. Zhang, it is only a matter of time before someone can help him become a human with the help of external forces. He was also here silently reciting the incantation. Willing, and the power of Snow Lotus was directly absorbed by Lin Yu. Now Lin Yu only needs a certain amount of domineering to be able to fully absorb it. When the time comes, he will be able to transform into a human body. He was also looking at Bono quietly here. At this moment, Bono was also letting out all the domineering energy in his body. After that, Lin Yu also felt the arrival of domineering power. After absorbing a certain amount of domineering energy, his body was gradually revealed. Bono also saw it. Lin Yu actually appeared, and he was slowly eating snacks. He also continued to release his domineering power, but Caecilius felt a series of problems. That is, Lin Yu seems to be successfully condensing his physical body. If this was known to others, wouldn't it have a fatal impact on oneself? He tossed and turned here for a long time, and he also told the magician. Let the magician quickly go to look for it. The ceremony on Lin Yu's side must be destroyed. But the magician doesn't even know where Lin Yu is and how to destroy it. How can this be easier said than done? At this time, Lin Yu also silently felt that the power in his body became more and more abundant. Moreover, the current magic books are gradually disappearing, forming some knowledge in Lin Yu's body. In other words, the current Lin Yu is this magic book, and the magic book is Lin Yu. All knowledge remains in Lin Yu's mind. Lin Yu also saw that Bono's body no longer had much domineering energy, but Lin Yu's figure had also become solid. And it also forms a true human form. Afterwards, Lin Yu also said to Bono, "You can stop now." Bono's eyes widened when he heard this. If he didn't stop, he would be sucked up by Lin Yu. He also took his hand back directly. He was panting heavily here and his face was pale. But after he saw that Lin Yu had transformed into a human form, he also said to Lin Yu, "Congratulations on your success." Lin Yu also burst out laughing here. What is there to congratulate about this kind of thing? Now Lin Yu also wants to help Bono regain his strength. After all, these powers disappeared because of him. Therefore, Lin Yu should send his domineering energy back. Otherwise, wouldn't he be in debt to Bono in the future? But Bono also said to Lin Yu here, "You don't owe me anything at all, have you forgotten? If you hadn't rescued me just now, I might have died in the hands of the magician. This can be regarded as returning a favor to you." Quote. After Lin Yu heard this, he sighed deeply and walked out. But Modu also felt a slight movement, and now he also wanted to find Bono. Because he has heard rumors from the outside world that Caecilius has now been attacked. Moreover, these attacks were very fierce, and he must find Bono to help this person. He now left his territory quietly and quickly searched for it. He wanted to see if he could find Bono in front of him. If possible, would I help this person? Modu wasn't thinking about anything. He was also inquiring about Bono's intermediary in disguise. He also learned from some people's mouths where Bono's current geographical location was. Now he has found Bono quietly. In fact, his search for Bono is not the most important purpose at all. He wanted to get the magic book. Once he had it, he would have invincible power. He could feel that the magic book was extremely powerful before, and it also contained Lin Yu. So all of this is one of the reasons why he wants to get the magic book, and it's also the reason why he wants to find Bono. Now he also came to Bono quietly, and then he saw Bono's face turned pale. And he even saw a very strange-looking man appearing next to Bono. He looked at this man and was very shocked. Who is this man? And why does this man seem so familiar to her? He also shook his head and threw such thoughts away. When Bono woke up, he could just ask Bono. Now Lin Yu also said to Modu, "Do you still want to spar with Bono? He has been seriously injured now, and his domineering power is also very low. If we are discussing now, is there any suspicion of taking advantage of others?" Modu also widened his eyes. How did the strange man in front of him know that he had sparred with Bono before? Could it be that this person, Zhang Bonuo, was seriously injured here? He can't believe it now. Because once he is seriously injured, why does this person stay here instead of leaving? At this time, he also pointed at Lin Yu's nose and asked, "Who are you? Why would you do such a thing? Did Bono offend you? Why did you want to seriously hurt him? Are you a magician?" After saying this, Lin Yu was extremely embarrassed. If I were a magician, there would be no good people in the world. He was also looking at each other in silence here. He is also looking forward to Bono waking up. Now that Bono also heard the communication between Modu and Lin Yu, he gradually opened his eyes. He also had to tell Modu who the person in front of him was. Otherwise, if the two of them fight, he will be the greatest sinner of all time. He also quietly walked up to Modu and said to Modu, "What is your purpose of coming here to find me?" Modu also truthfully explained that he was afraid that Bono would be killed by the magician, so he came here. But he actually saw this man here, and he thought this man was the magician. But Bono also said to Modu here, "The person you see in front of you is Lin Yu. You should know what he is like." Quote. Modu also patted his forehead, and it turned out to be Lin Yu. But in his eyes, isn't Lin Yu a magic book? Could it be that magic books can also take on human form and become flesh? He was also very puzzled. Bono also explained here how he rescued Lin Yu in front of him and helped Lin Yu transform into an adult form. After saying it, Modu in front of him suddenly realized. It turned out that Bono helped him, and now he also wants to express his loyalty to Lin Yu. Because he knew how powerful Lin Yu was before. In other words, if he reaches a cooperation with Lin Yu His future skills and a series of other things will definitely be indispensable. After all, the magic book is in Lin Yu's mind. Here he looked at Lin Yu solemnly and then knelt here. He also hopes that he can cooperate with Lin Yu. After all, once a cooperation is reached, you can do whatever you want. He also quietly waited for Lin Yu's explanation. Lin Yu knows what these people really think in their hearts. Here, Lin Yu also patted the person on the shoulder and said to the person, "You can follow me now, but I have to tell you. I have offended Caecilius, and he has sent the magician to hunt Bono and me. Weigh it yourself." Quote, but now Modu is also whispering in his heart, if Lin Yu is really afraid, Lin Yu will never stay again. He definitely wants to cooperate with himself, and he just wants to give himself a blow. After he thought about all this, he bowed deeply to Lin Yu and said, "You don't have to say these high-sounding words. I still know what kind of person you are. And the most important thing is that you will not abandon me now. Just take me into your hands, and I will become the most powerful person under you." After hearing this, Lin Yu also let Bono make the decision on his own. After all, he owed Bono a favor. Although he said that he rescued Bono, he believed that this was what he should do. Bono was also frightened, and he also said to Modu in front of him, "Since you want to come here and play for Lin Yu, we should sincerely advise you. Now you can stay here forever." Quote, after saying this, he also patted Modu on the shoulder. Now Modu also cheered, but Caecilius finally located Lin Yu's position. After all, when Lin Yu and Bono condensed their bodies, they also exerted a series of energy fluctuations. Now Caecilius also quietly told the magician, "Where is Lin Yu's specific position? He also depends on the strength and ideas of magician." Magician also quietly saw everything in front of him here. However, the current big devil magician also wiped out this space at an extremely fast speed. After going down, we came to Lin Yu, Bono and Modu. He also discovered that all three of them were here. Moreover, Lin Yu has actually transformed into his own body. He also communicated with Caecilius in a low voice. "Where do you want to go, and do you want to enter the palace?" But now Caecilius is also very puzzled. Since Lin Yu has transformed into Lin Yu, then capture Lin Yu. As long as he gets Lin Yu, then he gets books. Moreover, he could silently read the magic book, and he could also let Lin Yu give everything to him. This is what he most wants to see. Anyway, Lin Yu succeeded in transforming himself, so it has nothing to do with him. At this time, Lin Yu also felt the magician running to his side, wanting to kill him. He was also furious and wanted to deal with himself as soon as he appeared in this world. Could it be that Bono, who didn't take him seriously, still wanted to help Lin Yu? But now he discovered that no matter how he dealt with it, no matter what he did, the domineering energy in his body cannot be mobilized, which means that this series of problems can only depend on Lin Yu himself. Unless he can restore his strength. However, his domineering energy has dried up just now, and even if he wants to recover, it will take a certain amount of time. So now he can't help Lin Yu at all. At this time, Lin Yu also faced the difficulty and punched the magician's fist directly. The two of them also exchanged nearly 10,000 punches against each other, and Lin Yu still had a slight advantage. But now Modu has taken refuge in Lin Yu. Wouldn't it be a bit rebellious if he didn't help Lin Yu? And how can we convince Lin Yu? If this matter becomes true, then Lin Yu will no longer let Modu follow her in the future. Modu also thought about this in his heart. It was here that he silently blocked Lin Yu from behind. He also told Lin Yu that he could fight against the magician, and asked Lin Yu to leave first and let him fight. He will definitely not embarrass Lin Yu. After Lin Yu heard this sentence, he was also in a daze here, but he still nodded here. Then he let Modu in front of him fight. He also told Modu that even in battle, he should not take it lightly. Once a problem occurs, fatal causality will occur. But now the big devil magician doesn't care who fights him. He just wants to capture Lin Yu. As long as Lin Yu is captured, his mission will be completed. So he was definitely going to attack Lin Yu. He was here quietly watching Lin Yu and wanted to make a sneak attack. But Modu resisted here. Now, no matter how magician breaks through or attacks, Lin Yu can be blocked by Modu. Modu also felt that the magician was relatively strong. No wonder Bono had failed before. He may not be able to defeat the magician now, so he needs Lin Yu's help. Otherwise, I might really capsize in the gutter. At this time, Modu also used his peripheral vision to look at Lin Yu. As long as Lin Yu can say the words to help him, as long as Lin Yu can turn the tide. If you can teach him a certain amount of strength and skills, he can drive out the magician in front of him. As long as they are driven out, who in the world can stop them? At this moment, Lin Yu in front of him quietly handed over some of his methods to Modu in front. But Bono was also looking at Lin Yu silently here. He felt that Lin Yu was a little biased, but this bias was understandable. At the moment, Lin Yu in front of him also launched his own attack at an extremely fast speed. He wants to follow Modu to drive out the 4 magicians. The big devil magician stopped here and said to Modu, "What are the benefits of helping Lin Yu? You help me now and I will give Lin Yu to Caecilius after I get it. When the time comes, I will also report you to Caecilius with all my strength. You and Caecilius can also co-own Lin Yu. Isn't this better than your confrontation with me now?" After saying this, he was also looking at Modu in front of him. I also hope that he can understand his painstaking efforts, but Modu doesn't care so much here. Today, even if the great demon magician talks about it, he will never be able to recognize the great demon magician. He also pointed at magician's nose and said to him, "What capital do you have now? Aren't you the creation of Caecilius? You're just an ant. Even if I can't defeat you now, I will definitely be able to kill you in the future." Quote. This sentence also represents the awe in his heart, and he also analyzed the magician with extreme caution. Lin Yu did not take action again, because Lin Yu's own strength was also very weak. After all, he had just appeared in this world. He also needs a certain amount of time to rest, otherwise he will have a series of problems in the future. At this time, magician also felt that with the help of Lin Yu, Modu seemed to be unable to defeat himself. He remembered what Caecilius had said to him before. That means leaving Green Hills without fear of running out of firewood. He can leave now and wait until he has the opportunity in the future. After sneak attack on Lin Yu, bring Lin Yu to Caecilius. Now that he thought about this, he also wanted to leave quietly. But Modu was now jealous. After he took out his weapon, he stabbed it directly into the body of the demon. Unexpectedly, the magician is not a flesh and blood person at all, he is a person condensed from energy crystals. Magician also felt that he was not harmed at all. After that, he also kicked Modu out with one kick. After he kicked him, he clapped his hands and pointed at Modu's nose. "I want to give you a chance, don't you want it? I'm leaving here now, and you can do whatever you want. But I hope you won't continue to pester me here. You can't beat me." Single quote. After saying this, he left quietly. Modu himself still wanted to catch up because he wanted to express his loyalty to Lin Yi. But Lin Yu did ask Modu to stop chasing, and just run away if he ran away. After all, Bono and himself are not that powerful right now, so there is no need for others to catch up. There is no need to kill all the magicians. Lin Yu actually has a kind heart. But now when the big devil magician had just escaped a few miles away, Caecilius told the big devil magician, "Let him use all his strength to capture Lin Yu. Hasn't he escaped now? Then go back and attack him directly. As long as Lin Yu is attacked secretly, he can support the magician in front of him as quickly as possible." The great magician did not dare to disobey Caecilius's statement. He also looked at Caecilius silently, and then hurried back to Noon at a very fast speed. After hiding in the dark, he also discovered that Lin Bao was now alone. He also used the dagger in his hand to stab Lin Yu in the chest. Now Lin Yu also reacted and dodged sideways. After doing this series of things, Lin Yu also took a closer look and saw that he was actually a magician. "Didn't I let him go before?" The big devil magician also grinned his mouth here, showing that eerie and terrifying smile. Modu directly analyzed magician, but now Lin Yu also has murderous intentions towards magician. "I wanted to teach you how to release before, but you wanted to sneak attack me, so you can't blame me." Lin Yu was also gearing up and immediately sealed off this world. After doing these things, he also asked Bono to give him some domineering power. Bono also pointed at Lin Yu with his own hands, and gave Lin Yu the trace of domineering power he had just recovered. He passed out immediately. Lin Yu also walked towards Modu and Magician. Now Mordo completely controls the Magician here. Lin Yu also said to the Magician, I didn't expect that I was able to escape your fatal blow just now. Then you can only die in my hands today. Quote, after saying this, the Magician in front of him still didn't believe it. He is an energy crystal. He has no physical body or blood at all. Only when all his current dark power and energy disappear can he die. But even if it disappears, the origin still needs to be broken. At this time, Lin Yu quietly released his domineering power. After he went out, he casually wiped out all his dark origins. The big devil magician also felt the disappearance of the original power, and now he also showed a trace of panic. After he bit his crown tightly, he knelt in front of Lin Yu and begged Lin Yu for mercy. He finally gained his own consciousness and his own body. He doesn't want to leave here, and he doesn't want to die. Even if he doesn't obey Caecilius's orders in the future, he will still be able to dominate. But now, what will happen? Even he himself didn't know that he was looking at each other silently here. Lin Yu also patted Magician on the shoulder and said, if I had known it would happen today, why would you do it in the first place? For things you do yourself, you also need to shoulder such responsibilities. Quote, after saying that, Lin Yu directly killed the Magician. The dark power of the great demon Magician also wants to return to Caecilius' body. But it was intercepted here by Lin Yu, because Lin Yu is a magic book. Therefore, Lin Yu can use any power in the world. Now Lin Yu also feels his strength after being filled again. He also gave Bono the little bit of power he had just gained. Now he also asked Modo to help Bono up. After Bono just woke up, he also asked where the Magician had gone. He wanted to tear the big devil magician into pieces, but Modu also truthfully stated that the big devil magician had been killed by Lin Yu. Now Bono can't believe that Lin Yu actually killed the magician. This is a monstrous strength, but Lin Yu also told the two of them not to worry about Caecilius. After Caecilius felt the disappearance of the magician, he also widened his eyes here. He also called all his men. He wanted to ask these subordinates if there was any way to resurrect the magician. But these subordinates learned that the magician had been solved by Lin Yu. They also knew that after Lin Yu had obtained the physical body, he also took dozens of steps back. Here they all said to Caecilius in front of them, we really don't have any options. Because this matter has now exceeded our expectations. If we had figured it out, we would have told you. Now you better think about how things will work next. Quote, at this time, Caecilius also let out a long sigh. It seems that I have been thinking too much recently. If the magician dies, he will die. The most important thing is that the trace of dark power he taught the magician has not returned to his body. This also made him very embarrassed. If this power returns, he can take it all back. At this moment, Lin Yu in front of him was also silently looking ahead. He also discovered that these two people actually wanted to thank him, and they also wanted to support him and dominate. He also said to these two people, why do you two look at me like that? If you have something to say, tell it truthfully. I will do my best to help you too. Besides, if I was able to kill the great demon magician today, wouldn't that be because I had the help of you too? Modu and Bono also looked at each other. They also truthfully told Lin Yu what they wanted to do now. That is, they want to marry Lin Yu and become brothers with different surnames. They didn't know whether Lin Yu could agree, but Lin Yu was also looking at these two people here. He also widened his eyes. Once he and the two become brothers of the opposite gender, then he and these two people will be considered tied. Lin Yu is a person who loves freedom. What should I do if these two people let me do something bad? He also shook his head here. He didn't want to become brothers with different surnames from these two people. Besides, the road against Caecilius is also very long. Today Caecilius dared to create a magician to attack him, and he understood. Caecilius must have wanted him to work for him. However, if Caecilius could speak kindly to him, he might be able to help him. But now there is no need at all, Lin Yu also told the two people in front of him. He didn't want to become brothers of the opposite gender with the two of them. But these two people think that they and Lin Yu have been through life and death, so are they not even biological brothers? If that's the case, why did they help Lin Yu for no reason? After all, everyone has interests. If there were no interests, who would get up so early to help you? These two people were also extremely angry. Lin Yu also felt that the words he just said did have some long pictures and some bad qualities. He also said silently to the two of them, "Tell me first why you two want to become brothers of the opposite gender with me. If what I say makes sense to me, then we can discuss it. If you can't tell me, then you should know my temper." Quote. These two people also told Lin Yu one after another, "I feel that Lin Yu is very powerful, and I don't know what to do recently." They also want to follow Lin Yu, and they also want Lin Yu to lead them against Caecilius. But Lin Yu understands what these people are thinking very well. "I just want them to be taken advantage of, so that they can gain their recognition and gain their own skills." But Lin Yu could also feel that Bono and Moto were quite good to him. After all, if something happens, the two of them will help each other. Lin Yu felt that it would not be impossible for him to become a brother of the opposite gender with the two of them. Lin Yu thought about it again and said to the two of them, "Then I have to agree in advance that it is okay to become brothers of the opposite gender in front of me. But now you must swear to God that you will never betray me in the future. Never try to be clever, but respect me and be a rich man." Quote. After saying 523, the two people were also extremely happy. Because as long as Lin Yu agrees, they can get Lin Yu's approval. Here they also silently swore to Lin Yu that they would become brothers with different surnames. Respecting Lin Yu, they will never go east if Lin Yu says west. Now they are also looking at Lin Yu, now that the oath has been taken. Does that mean they can become good brothers who are bound to Jinlan? Now Lin Yu also took the lead and knelt here, and then quietly looked at the two of them. Now these two people are kneeling here one after another, worshipping heaven and earth and worshipping ghosts and gods. They became brothers. But now Lin Yu also wants everyone to follow him to find Caecilius. He wondered whether the two men could know Caecilius's exact location. But now these two people also looked embarrassed towards Lin Yu. They didn't know Caecilius at all, and they didn't know where he was. Lin Yu was also extremely confused. Should he only allow Caecilius to attack him and not allow him to cause trouble to Caecilius? Now Lin Yu also let out a long sigh. However, he could also feel that the strength of the two brothers in front of him was also extremely low. These two people also need some time to rest. Lin Yu also said quietly to the two of them, "Have you two's strength not recovered? Then you can rest assured and restore your own strength here, and I can also wait here for a while." After saying this, he sat here silently. Now these two people are also slowly repairing their own power at an extremely fast speed. But at the moment, Lin Yu in front of him also spread rumors. That is what he wants to fight against Caecilius and kill Caecilius. But now everyone feels that Lin Yu is crazy. They have never heard of Lin Yu, so why should Lin Yu kill others? Now that Caecilius has learned the news, he is also extremely angry. Because Lin Yu just wanted to kill him, even if he, Bono and Moto became brothers, it would be impossible. He is also full of questions here, and he also wants to kill Lin Yu. He didn't know if it would be possible. Here he also needs to carefully think about how he will fight against Lin Yu in the future. Since Lin Yu can kill the big demon magician, it also shows that Lin Yu is not so afraid of the power of darkness. If this were to be the case, he would have to release a power more powerful than the power of darkness. But he doesn't have it yet, so he can only find others to discuss it together. His men also said to Caecilius one after another, "Now if you want to gain huge amounts of power, then can you think about the thing placed in the secret realm?" Caecilius also widened his eyes when he heard the protection in the secret realm. If he really gets that treasure now, he might really be able to defeat Lin Yu. He was also asking these people here what their chances were of getting that treasure. How can these people know? They are not roundworms in anyone's stomach, they also said to Caecilius. If you really want to get it, then go and find it yourself. And isn't this thing nearby us? The dark sword can also be greatly enhanced for you. Quote. Caecilius now patted his forehead and gave everyone a thumbs up. He must find the dark holy sword now and use this weapon to kill Lin Yu. Even if he couldn't kill Lin Yu, he could definitely make Lin Yu his slave. When the time comes, won't Lin Yu's power be used to his advantage? And he can get whatever he wants. But Lin Yu also felt something strange. Because Caecilius should logically be able to find his own class, why hasn't he found it for so long? Doesn't he want to get rid of himself, but also doesn't want him to become his subordinate? Now Lin Yu is also full of questions. At this moment, Lin Yu in front of him was gathering his strength with peace of mind. But at this moment, Caecilius also wants to lead a few men to follow him to find the Dark Sword. Once he finds the Dark Holy Sword, he can turn the tide. Isn't this exactly what he has in mind? Here he also quietly looked at the 3 strong men under his command. Said to these 3 people, "Isn't it an honor for you 3 to be able to use me here now? Do you want to leave here with me? I will also lead you to find the Dark Sword." Quote. These 3 people can now figure out what Caecilius is thinking. And now Caecilius definitely wants to use the 3 of them as cannon fodder. Otherwise, why would Caecilius lead them out so thanklessly? They also figured this out early. But what Caecilius said was that they were not rebellious. They looked at each other silently here, and could only reluctantly nod here. At the moment, Caecilius also waved his hand, and then led the 3 strong men away from here. Arriving at the place where the Dark Holy Sword was hidden, he tossed and turned and discovered the seal possessed by the Dark Holy Sword. Here he burst out laughing. He only needs to get rid of the seal, and then he can be recognized by the Dark Holy Sword. You can get this sword by yourself. When the time comes, Lin Yu will be able to stand tall in this world and become the king of this world. No one can show off his power to him. At this time, Caecilius also walked in silently. But this seal shielded him. In other words, the current Caecilius cannot enter at all. Caecilius also asked Sanming's men to work with him to strip away all the power here. Now these subordinates are also sending their power out at an extremely fast speed. And they worked together to break the seal. After they broke the seal, they also let Caecilius enter alone. Because the Dark Holy Sword will choose its master on its own. If after they enter, the Dark Sword chooses them, wouldn't that embarrass Caecilius? By that time Caecilius had used their angry words, and they could not utter any words. Isn't this the most embarrassing thing? Therefore, the 3 strong men now have no intention of entering. But Caecilius didn't want the 3 of them to enter. What if Lin Yu comes here secretly? He still needs these 3 people here to help him keep an eye on Lin Yu. He also looked ahead silently. He quickly entered in front of the Dark Holy Sword, and he also saw this black long sword. Moreover, there are many black dragon scales surrounding the long sword. Now, with a sudden thought in his heart, he directly touched the Dark Holy Sword with his own hands. But just when he touched it, he was shaken by a counter-shock force that made him feel a little dazed. He also looked at the Dark Holy Sword in front of him at an extremely fast speed and whispered here. "Why can't you get my approval? I have to get you now, otherwise I won't be able to fight against Lin Yu." After saying this, the Dark Holy Sword in front of him ignored him at all. At the moment of Caecilius, it was thought that Caecilius was not worthy of himself. It can be said that the Dark Holy Sword also possesses a certain degree of arrogance. What does it mean if anyone can get it? It now also brought Caecilius in front of him into his nightmare. Now Caecilius also fell into self-doubt. He also discovered this while quietly looking at the sword in front of him. At the moment, I couldn't even understand what was in the sky. It is also looking for it here. But at this time, the master of the Dark Holy Sword also appeared here. He wanted to see what qualifications Caecilius had to get him. Caecilius also released the power of darkness. But the mere power of darkness does not need to make him so frightened. There are many people who can possess the power of darkness, but Caecilius has this rare power of darkness. It was completely impossible for him to admit Caecilius. Caecilius now also said to the master in front of him, "I need the Dark Sword now." But the current master also shook his head here. Unless Caecilius can come up with something that impresses him, otherwise he will never give it to Caecilius. He also said these words. Caecilius was also thinking hard about what could impress the man in front of him. After thinking about it for a while, I also thought about what if I released the Dark Origin. Will that impress him? So he quietly released his dark origin. After the release, Caecilius also silently looked at the master of the dark holy sword in front of him. This master never expected that this person could possess the origin of darkness. He also let out a long sigh now. It seems that if I don't want to recognize this person today, there is nothing I can do. He also said to Caecilius, "What is the thing you want to do most after you get me?" Caecilius also truthfully explained that it was to kill Lin Yu. Because Lin Yu had a certain relationship with him, he would be unbearable if he didn't kill Lin Yu. What the dark sword admires the most is this kind of person who must avenge his hatred. He also gave himself over to Caecilius. But he also needs to make a good judgment before handing it over to Caecilius. Now Caecilius gets the dark holy sword. The master of the holy sword in front of him also let Caecilius release the original power into the dark holy sword. Only in this way can the dark sword be trusted by Caecilius as its master. Now Caecilius is also following the instructions of the holy sword. He also gave his original power to the dark holy sword. But now the dark holy sword also burst out laughing here. Because he could feel that this source of power was a little low, but it was better than nothing. So he handed the dark holy sword to Caecilius in front of him with a quick gesture. It can be said that what he is doing now is very correct, and it awes everyone. After Caecilius got the dark holy sword, he was eager to try it here. Now Caecilius also wants to easily get rid of some people in front of him. Especially the 3 strong men who helped him obtain the dark holy sword. Once these 3 people know that they have obtained the dark holy sword, will these 3 people take action against them? Once he takes action, will he encounter unbearable opportunities for thousands of years? If this matter was really leaked, wouldn't he be ridiculed by many people? It will also make everyone look down on him. At that time, where will he go? So now Caecilius also has some little ideas of his own. Caecilius was also silent at this time. He gathered his own strength. He saw the strong men in front of him, and he quietly said to these strong men, "Everyone, I have obtained the dark holy sword." Now these strong men also looked at each other one after another. Is getting the holy sword of darkness enough to show off one's power? They also said to Caecilius, "How do you guess now? Now that you have obtained the dark holy sword, can you attack certain people? Especially Lin Yu, we can't wait." Quote, but now Lin Yu feels it too. I should let Bono and Modo cultivate their relationship. He was also preparing to lead the 2 of them out of here, and now he was also questioning them. If I lead them to the tavern, will these 2 people agree? At this time, the 2 people also widened their eyes. Why did Lin Yu take them to the pub? Is it necessary to drink? Do they need to celebrate that they have become brothers of the opposite gender? They also hope that Lin Yu can explain to them truthfully. Lin Yu also said to the 2 of them at this time, "Since you have become brothers with me, then I will definitely treat you to a drink. Otherwise, the outside world will think that I can't afford the money." After finishing speaking, Lin Yu also patted the 2 people on the shoulders. Lin Yu believes that since he has become their eldest brother, he must deal with it well. We can't make the 2 of them sad. Now Lin Yu is here quietly watching the 2 of them. However, these 2 people also cheered for Lin Yu in front of them. As long as Lin Yu does something, they will all approve it. Since Lin Yu wants to go, they will definitely follow Lin Yu. But they don't know at all whether some of the drinks in some pubs are good or not. Anyway, there are many pubs here, so let Lin Yu choose them personally. It was inconvenient for them to ask too much, and now they also handed over this problem to Lin Yu. Now Lin Yu also took the 2 of them out of here directly. After that, we also came to a vast island. They also saw a pub here, and Lin Yu remembered that the drinks here were quite delicious. He also walked in, and the 2 people in front of him also followed Lin Yu. After they entered here, they also saw that the tavern was overcrowded. But outside, there is nothing impressive about it. Doesn't this mean that people who drink in this pub don't care about any reputation at all? It seems that there is indeed a very delicious restaurant here. They also looked at Lin Yu and the others silently, wondering if Lin Yu recognized the owner of the tavern. But now Lin Yu also laughed and cursed at them. I have just recovered my physical body, how can I possibly know the boss here? It is too much for them to say this now, which makes them feel chilled. Don't these people know themselves at all? These two people also suddenly realized that now they also led Lin Yu to a place in the tavern. They are also sitting here, and they are also here one after another. Lin Yu said, "What kind of drink do you want to drink now? You tell us, let's go find the owner of their tavern here." Quote. But just after Lin Yu sat here, Lin Si also released his momentum. He believes that if this boss is powerful, a tyrannical person will definitely come to him. Moreover, the domineering energy in him is extremely powerful and cannot be felt by ordinary people. Only a peak powerhouse like Lin Yu can feel it. The owner of the tavern also felt Lin Yu's power, but he couldn't show his face now. Because he didn't know why Lin Yu came here. He also waved his hand and asked his men to entertain Lin Yu first. The current waiters also came to Lin Yu one after another. Later, Lin Yu was also questioned quietly here. At this time, Lin Yu also said to the two of them, "I actually wanted to have a drink at your tavern. So take out all the drinks in the tavern now. Also let me see how these drinks are." Quote. After saying this, the service staff in front of him also took out the drinks one after another. They are now also asking for money from Lin Yu. Lin Yu is also going to drink with his two brothers with different surnames today, and he will definitely prepare the corresponding money. Now he took out the money truthfully, and these people left quietly. Lin Yu also picked up the wine glass in his hand and said, "Towel. Everyone, I also know what your thoughts are on joining me and becoming brothers with different surnames. Isn't it just for the resources in my hands? But don't worry, since we have become brothers. Then we won't talk about what happened before. Now follow me wholeheartedly. I will teach you whatever I have here. So you don't have to worry so much about 3, 4, 7 anymore." Quote. After saying this, the two people also expressed their awe to Lin Yu. And they also drank the drinks in their hands. Lin Yu was so happy when he saw his two younger brothers. As the eldest brother, he was too embarrassed to be submissive, so he drank the drink. After drinking, Lin Yu also felt very refreshed. At this time, Lin Yu from the front also patted these people on the shoulders. Lin Yu also handed over some of his treasured skills and moves from his magic book to the two of them. Now that these two people saw these moves and techniques, they were also very panicked. They thought Lin Yu needed to see their determination before he could hand over these things to them. He never expected that just after he and Lin Yu became brothers with different surnames, Lin Yu would hand over these things to the two of them. Doesn't Lin Yu have any doubts in his heart? Now they are also looking at Lin Yu here in disguise. But Lin Yu also said it sonorously and forcefully here. "Everyone, you don't have to worry too much. Now that I have given these things to you, I have no intention of taking them back." Quote. This sentence also made the two of them extremely confused. It seems that Lin Yu still has other backups, and he also has something more precious than these skills. Otherwise, Lin Yu would not have given these things to them without any reason. Now they are all in awe of Lin Yu here. But the two of them also asked Lin Yu, "If Caecilius finds Lin Yu again and wants to take action against Lin Yu, what will Lin Yu do?" And this time Caecilius should have come down personally. When the time comes, if Caecilius really defeats Lin Yu and takes Lin Yu away, do they also want to follow Lin Yu? Now Lin Yu is also asking these two people to keep their hearts in their stomachs. Logically speaking, there won't be any accidents. He also let these two people leave quietly. At this time, Lin Yu also picked up the drink in his hand again and drank it in one gulp. He felt that it was unnecessary for him to be entangled so much, and the problem was now on the table. Even if he couldn't defeat Caecilius, he could still escape. Besides, they are drinking in the pub now. Caecilius shouldn't come to the two of them so shamelessly, right? But now Caecilius has indeed arrived. He also spotted Lin Yu in front of him and Bono in front of him. How did he know Lin Yu was here? That is definitely thanks to his dark holy sword. Without this holy sword, it would be extremely difficult for him to find Lin Yu. He just sent a trace of dark power into the common place and located the dark power attached to Lin Yu. Because Lin Yu killed the great demon magician, these dark powers have always remained in Lin Yu. Caecilius also walked vigorously. He entered the tavern directly. What he has to do now is to find Lin Yu, Bono and others in this tavern. He would fight against them, otherwise he would have a lot of unwillingness in his heart. At this time, he also saw Lin Yu in front of him. Moreover, he was drinking and having fun with Bono and Moto there, and seemed to be boasting and talking bad about himself. This made Caecilius unbearable, and he came to Lin Yu with his dark holy sword. He wanted to see if Lin Yu would be surprised. But now Lin Yu is looking at each other quietly here. Lin Yu also spoke to Yuandu and others at an extremely fast speed. Both of you should also be prepared. But these two people were also a little drunk now, and they had no idea what Lin Yu meant. When they saw Lin Yu's eyes peeking behind them, could it be that someone appeared behind them? Now Caecilius behind them coughed twice and said to the three of them, "I didn't expect you three to be so leisurely and elegant. How dare you drink here? It seems you really don't take me seriously." Quote. Lin Yu also closed his mouth in silence when he heard this sentence. However, Caecilius in front was watching these people silently, but Lin Yu stood up. He is in this tavern now and he doesn't want to fight. He also trusted Caecilius to know his priorities. After all, those who can open a tavern here will also be extremely powerful. When Lin Yu came here, the boss didn't even see Lin Yu. He just let a few waiters get rid of him. That also shows how powerful the boss of the war tavern is. Lin Yu also said to Caecilius here, "If you really want to fight me here, then I advise you to bury thoughts like this in your heart. You can't fight the boss of this tavern." Quote. However, Lin Yu, Bono and Caecilius communicated here, which also attracted everyone's attention. They also all looked at Lin Yu. "I don't even drink wine now." At this moment, Caecilius felt for the first time what it means to be under the spotlight. He also said quietly to Lin Yu here, "Even if you have the protection of this tavern now, I will definitely take action against you. Otherwise, wouldn't it be impossible for these grievances and hatreds in my heart to be erased?" Quote. After saying this, he also launched an attack directly. And it also hit Lin Yu on the chest. Lin Yu also threw the drink out directly. The drink had just ended, and it turned into a white mist when it hit the air. It hit Caecilius's eyes directly, which also made Caecilius disoriented. Now Caecilius rubbed the wine and mist from his eyes, and he was furious afterwards. But at this time, many people in the tavern also left here one after another. Chapter 71. Because the battle is about to begin here. They don't want to join the war, and they don't want to be affected. So it was the best thing and decision for them to leave here. But once these people leave, it will also cause certain losses to the owner of the tavern. The boss couldn't stand it anymore. It was not good for these people to fight anywhere, but they wanted to fight in his own tavern. He also came out. He knew what kind of person Lin Yu was. He also knew what he was going to face. After he strolled here, he also spoke quietly to the people in front of him. "I don't care who you are. Now if you dare to do something in my tavern, then don't blame me for ruthlessly destroying flowers. No matter you or Lin Yu or Caecilius. Do you think I would be afraid?" After saying this, Caecilius in front of him also felt a strong force and directly hit him hard. And he couldn't get to this person at all now. At this time, Lin Yu slowly walked up to the boss. Lin Yu also apologized deeply to the boss in front of him. He wanted to have a drink here, but he didn't expect that he would provoke Caecilius here. She also revealed some of her previous connections with Caecilius and the magician. The boss in front of him also let out a long sigh. Since Lin Yu now has this attitude of admitting his mistakes, he can't force too much. He couldn't take action against Lin Yu. He also wanted to give Lin Yu some drinks and let Lin Yu leave. After all, he still needs to be open in the tavern. If Lin Yu really sabotaged Caecilius here, how would he do business here? He also hopes that Lin Yu will understand him. Lin Yu must have understood, but Lin Yu did tell the boss in front of him quietly. He can leave, but can Caecilius leave? Once he leaves here, Caecilius will act stupidly. If we attack this owner's tavern, does this matter still have anything to do with Lin Yu? If there was no relationship, Lin Yu wouldn't say so much. He can also leave here straightforwardly. If it matters, Lin Yu couldn't leave so happily. So now Lin Yu also holds this idea and keeps looking at the person in front of him. He also hopes that the boss in front of him can communicate with him well. Suddenly the boss also heard it, and Lin Yu's implication was that he was blaming himself. He also said to Lin Yu, "You can leave now. I will not take action against you, let alone accuse you of killing. And any problems happening here now have nothing to do with you. Can you understand what I am thinking now?" Lin Yu also cheered here. "If this is the case, then I will understand it as well as I can. And I will try my best to leave here. Don't give the person in front of you the slightest trouble." Lin Yu also left quietly. After all, Lin Bao still didn't want to attack Caecilius in front of him. Since the owner of the tavern has appeared here, he should give the owner some face. But Caecilius didn't see Lin Yu appear for a long time, and he also noticed a problem. He now entered in front of the tavern owner at an extremely fast speed. He wanted to see where this boss took Lin Yu. Or where is Lin Yu going now? He also looked at the tavern owner in front of him with his mouth open. I also asked after that, and it turned out that the boss was also talking to Caecilius in front of him. "I have asked Lin Yu to leave my tavern. If you don't know what to do, then you can give me a try." As soon as he said these words, the tavern owner also released the powerful power and aura around him. It can be said that he is afraid of anyone now, except Caecilius in front of him. Because the power in his body is the domineering power of a king, but the Caecilius in front of him is the power of darkness. There is still a certain gap between his dark power and the overlord domineering power. At this moment, Caecilius also understood. He can only go to find trouble with Lin Yu. If he finds trouble with such a tavern owner, he will definitely have many problems. After he left here quietly, he also found Lin Chen in front of him very quickly. However, Lin Yu is still whispering here. He thinks that he has not been found by Caecilius yet. However, Bono and Modo also felt a huge force of darkness at this time. It actually came in front of them, and they were shocked. Could it be that someone really came here? And this person was still Caecilius, but how did Caecilius know what kind of place they had arrived? At this time, Bono also quietly looked ahead of him and discovered Caecilius. They had indeed arrived here, and the two of them were looking at Caecilius here as if they had eaten a dead mouse. However, Lin Yu also noticed something unusual about the two of them. When he stood up again, he saw Caecilius in front of him. He also said quietly to Caecilius, "Now that you are here, do you still need me to communicate with you here? Or are you trying to sell out to me here?" Quote, Caecilius also hopes that Lin Yu can surrender, which is his lifelong wish. He also told Lin Yu these words. As long as Lin Yu defected to him, he would not kill Lin Yu. And now the black holy sword in his hand also exudes an extremely dark and depressing aura. Lin Yu finally understood why Caecilius was so confident to find himself and reason with him. Lin Yu also said quietly to Caecilius, "It's not like you came here to take action against me after you got the dark holy sword. Let me tell you, the dark holy sword is of no use to me at all. He can't kill me either." Quote, after saying this, Caecilius didn't believe it. The holy sword of darkness, which he had tried so hard to obtain, was useless just because Lin Yu said it was useless. He was also looking at Lin Yu silently here. Later, he also spoke quietly to Lin Yu in front of him. "If you say no, then you will become a dead soul under the sword of this dark holy sword." After saying that, he also launched an attack like Lin Yu. However, Bono and Modu would not let this person attack Lin Yu. The two of them also blocked Caecilius directly. They also wanted to reason with Caecilius. Because Caecilius attacked Lin Yu so ungratefully, didn't he really take them seriously? What resources will they have to travel in this ocean and world in the future? The two men now also pointed at Caecilius' nose and insulted him. This is what these people really think now. If you want to defeat Lin Yu, you have to pass our level. They also said to Caecilius, "What's your truest thought when looking for Lin Yu? Can't you just talk to us?" But at the moment Caecilius also told these two people, the most real purpose of finding Lin Yu is to get Lin Yu to hand over everything in the magic book. He needs these things now to improve his strength. He also believed that Bono, as well as Modo and Lin Yu became opposite gender brothers for this reason. Otherwise, how could they do such a thankless thing? So everyone's purpose is the same, but the means they use are different. So what's there to defend? Now Caecilius is also mocking the two people in front of him in disguise. The two of them also complained about Lin Yu, because they had never thought of it this way. Lin Yu and the others have always followed Lin Yu's lead, and they will do whatever Lin Yu asks them to do. And they also moved Lin Yu with their true feelings. It's not what Caecilius said in front of him. Now these people hope that Lin Yu can deal with it impartially, and they also hope that Lin Yu can take a good look at the two of them. And they really didn't want to betray Lin Yu could still tell. Lin Yu also told the two of them not to worry about this, as he was not the kind of person who didn't know what to do or what to do. The two people now are also reasoning with Caecilius. They also told Caecilius that it was impossible for Lin Yu to follow him. And if he uses forceful means to make Lin Yu surrender, it will be impossible. With Lin Yu's posture, even if he gives up this physical body, he can still transform into a magic book. When the time comes, he can find whoever he wants, and he will not recognize Caecilius at all. They also hope that Caecilius can leave. Caecilius also did not believe in evil at this time. But he also felt Bono and Modo in front of him. If he didn't solve it, he would never see Lin Yu in this life. It is impossible to make Lin Yu surrender to him. After he thought about this, he quietly told these two people. If they stop themselves anymore, then there will be no place for them here. And now Caecilius will kill them both. These two people are also experienced in the battlefield. They have never seen any big storms. Just 2 sentences can defeat them here, which is absolutely impossible. Now the two men also pointed at Caecilius's nose and said to him, "We advise you with good intentions, but you don't know what to do. Then come and try it." Quote, the two of them also wanted to attack Bono because they wanted to buy some time for Lin Yu. The strength in Lin Yu's body has definitely not recovered. Furthermore, once they fight against Caecilius in front of them, they will be able to see where they are falling short. When the time comes, we can do our best to make up for it. If they can't even find where they are lacking, then what do they have to make up for? Even if the King of Heaven comes, it is impossible to make up for it. At the moment, Caecilius never thought that Bono and Mordo would dare to take action against him. But since others have such thoughts, I should be satisfied. He also waved his hand. Then he directly held the long black knife in his hand. He also used this long knife to suppress the two people in front of him. But Lin Yu also felt that the two brothers of the opposite gender under him were definitely no match for the man in front of him. In other words, these two people may fail, or they may be killed by Caecilius in front of them. He was also persuading earnestly here, and hoped that both of these people could return to him. But these two people were already furious, and it was absolutely impossible for them to return to Lin Yu's side. They also said to Lin Yu here silently, "Just watch carefully from above." Lin Yu feels that these people are at risk of being assimilated. Because what is the most powerful force of darkness? It's not the power he can give at all, but anyone who accepts the power of darkness will be assimilated by Cassia in front of him. Lin Yu also said these words, but these people still didn't believe Lin Yu's words. The two men came directly to Caecilius's side. They also launched an attack on Caecilius. Now Caecilius saw such a scene and released his dark power. The power of darkness now pervades the entire world. And the power of darkness in this world is also extremely powerful. Just these few people want to lift the power of darkness, which is absolutely impossible. Caecilius also sat here cross-legged and silently recited his own incantation. He also felt the power of darkness pouring into his body. The most important thing is that these dark forces are also rapidly invading Bono and Mordo. He wants these two people to know what is the danger of society. He also felt a certain aura here at an extremely fast speed. He also said sonorously and forcefully to Lin Yu in front of him, "Aren't you ready to rescue these two people now? If you don't rescue them, then both of them will die here. Think about it for yourself. Even if they don't die, they will be assimilated by me." Quote. After Lin Yu heard this, he also wanted to rescue, but how could he rescue? Lin Yu touched his head here and felt very confused and numb. At this time, Lin Yu also quietly used his own secret technique to prepare to awaken the two of them. But now these two people are just like dead men. Lin Yu now understands that he will never be able to wake him up. Lin Yu also let out a long sigh here. If you can't wake it up, just let it be. Lin Yu also said sonorously and forcefully to Caecilius in front of him. Do you think I don't know what kind of coffins you sell? But now Bono and Modo are gradually showing their fierce gazes. This look is also because of Lin Yu's problems. Now Lin Yu also feels that these two people actually want to take action against him. He was also extremely confused. They had agreed to become opposite gender brothers before, but now they were going to fight each other. Lin Yu is also extremely unwilling here. Now Lin Yu is also silently speaking to the two of them here. Have you two forgotten who I am? Or do you two no longer want to recognize me as your eldest brother? This sentence also made the two of them somewhat sober, but they were still a little dull. Lin Yu also wants to know. If he wanted to rescue his two good brothers today, what exactly would he need to do? If the person in front of him could tell him the truth, he would definitely go all out. Here he was silently looking at the person in front of him. He stared blankly at Caecilius and said, "Tell me how to save these two people." Caecilius said nothing. After all, he didn't even know how he made these two people surrender to him. He only knew that all this was because of the dark holy sword in his hand. If Lin Yu gets the dark holy sword, he might be able to rescue the two of them. Lin Yu also noticed that the dark holy sword in Caecilius's hand was flickering. Lin Yu also understood that all he needed to do now was to seize the dark holy sword. He also recited his own spell silently, causing the two people in front of him to fall asleep. After he finished this series of things, he quietly said to Caecilius, "Now that these people are asleep, then this battle can only be fought between you and me." Quote. At the moment, Caecilius also gave Lin Yu a thumbs up. Unexpectedly, Lin Yu could still put these two people to sleep after they were assimilated by him. He also said quietly here to the two people in front of him, "If you are sober then stand up. If you don't wake up, you will die here." But these two people paid no attention to Caecilius in front of them. Caecilius finally believed it, and Lin Yu let the two men fall asleep. But just falling asleep would not cause much harm to him at all. Because he can take advantage of this opportunity to deal with Lin Yu in front of him. Lin Yu said, "Who is he without Bono and Modo's help?" Now Caecilius is also using his dark holy sword. He criticized Lin Yu for his attack. However, Lin Yu directly put his hands under the power of the dark holy sword. His current strength is also extremely powerful, and he directly resisted the sword energy struck by the dark holy sword. After the resistance was over, Lin Bao in front quietly looked at the opponent here. Lin Yu stripped away all the murderous intent contained in the holy sword. All were returned to Caecilius in front of him. He also felt that the power of darkness could be returned by Lin Yu. He also didn't understand what type of person Lin Yu was. He was also looking at Lin Yu blankly here. But at the moment Lin Yu also said to Caecilius, "If you don't want to die, then hand over the dark holy sword." Caecilius didn't understand what Lin Yu wanted to do to get this dark holy sword. Could it be that Lin Yu has already understood the fatal attack method in the dark holy sword? Logically speaking, it is absolutely impossible. But now Caecilius also hopes that Lin Yu can surrender to him. He only had such an idea in his life. Lin Yu shook his head and communicated with Caecilius again. "You want to use these resources in your hands to exchange with me. This is also absolutely impossible. So just bury this thought in your heart. And I am a magic book. There is also magic in these practices within me. There is no way I would leave it to a little guy like you." Quote. Caecilius was also furious. From the beginning to the end, no one dared not to give himself face, and Lin Yu was the first in history. He now watched Lin Yu quietly launch an attack. He would like to see what step Lin Yu can take now. However, Lin Yu also used his fists to the extreme at an extremely fast speed. And they all used the same set of tools that he gave to Bono before. He also wanted to take this opportunity to wake up Bono. But Bono just stayed here, dumbfounded and didn't speak at all. This also made Lin Yu in front feel very sad. It seems that people who have assimilated the power of darkness still have a certain level. Lin Yu also kicked Caecilius on top. All he has to do now is make Caecilius pay the price he deserves. As soon as he kicked Caecilius in the stomach, he felt a dark force and immediately retreated. He also tasted it carefully, and only absorbed this dark power into his stomach. But now this dark power has slowly become fodder for Lin Yu. Bono and Modu also woke up, and they attacked Lin Yu directly. Lin Yu didn't want to accidentally hurt them. But looking at the current situation, this is no longer something you want to do, but something you can do. If he didn't take action against the two of them, Lin Yu would be seriously injured. By that time he will also be controlled by Caecilius. As for Bono and Mordo, they will never be able to escape from Caecilius's grasp in this life. For the sake of everyone's safety, Lin Yu must turn the tide. Here he was silently watching the enemy in front of him. Then he slapped Caecilius to the ground. He also held the dark holy sword in Caecilius's hand in his own hand. He also felt that there were countless things and powers in this dark holy sword. He also absorbed all this power. But when he had just absorbed half of it, Caecilius had already arrived in front of Lin Yu. This also made Lin Yu extremely embarrassed. If he resists, he will appear to be ungrateful. If he doesn't resist, it will appear that he is seriously injured. In other words, Lin Yu doesn't know what to choose now. He also directly exerted the power of display in his body to the extreme. He also mobilized an extremely huge gas from his own books. It also seriously injured Caecilius in front of him. The only thing he wants to do now is to find the secret in his hand. He also saved Bono and Mordo. If he couldn't save these two people, he wouldn't be able to bear it. Caecilius also asked Lin Yu to hand over his holy sword. As long as Lin Yu returns the holy sword to him, everything will be easy to discuss. Lin Yu burst out laughing here. Why should the holy sword be handed over by himself, unless Caecilius tells how to rescue the two assimilated people? Caecilius wouldn't tell him even if he knew. Because I can't beat Lin Yu alone, if I add these two people. Then wouldn't he be even more incapable of beating Lin Yu? By that time, what kind of face would he have? Then he would be crying without tears. So even if he died here, he would not tell Lin Yu. At the moment, Lin Yu was also quite helpless. Two of his subordinates are being tortured by the power of darkness, but there is nothing he can do here. He was regretting more and more, and he wanted to beg Caecilius here. But once this happens, you will fall into Caecilius's trap. Lin Yu can still read Caecilius's thoughts. Now Lin Yu also wants to cut off the dark holy sword in his hand. Lin Yu could only use the dark holy place to threaten Caecilius. After all, this thing is the most precious thing to this person. Lin Yu also placed the dark holy sword in his hand directly on the back of his hand. He only needs to use his strength, and the dark holy sword will be cut off easily. At this time, he also looked at Caecilius quietly. If he hadn't said it yet, then there would be no one to blame for the holy sword being severed. Caecilius also blushed and clenched his teeth. It seemed that he had to say something, otherwise Lin Yu would not be able to let him go. He also told Lin Shou after letting out a long sigh. If you want to use this dark holy sword to rescue Bono and Modo, you need to use the dark origin in the dark holy sword. Absorbing all the dark power in the two of them is the only way to succeed. Otherwise, these two people will gradually be assimilated. And he will also become a slave of the power of darkness. At that time, these two people will be used by Caecilius as he pleases. This is one of the reasons why Caecilius did this. Now Caecilius is also here quietly looking at Lin Yu in front of him. He has already told Lin Yu, so at the moment, will Lin Yu be able to return the dark holy sword to him? But Lin Yu didn't want to return it, because Lin Yu wanted to use the dark holy sword to rescue the two of them first. After Lin Yu waved his hand, he condensed part of the space on his side. Lin Yu also slowly entered the hearts of Bono and Modo. After he finished this matter, he quietly looked at Caecilius in front of him. He also said to this person, "You'd better be more honest with me now. Otherwise what will happen to you yourself? Only you know it best." Quote. Caecilius also lowered his head silently here. If he doesn't have a dark store, he can't exert the power of darkness. Because he handed over the origin of darkness to the dark holy sword. At this moment, Lin Yu also inspired the dark origin in the holy sword. Later, these original powers were also used, constantly absorbing the dark powers now in Bono and Modu's bodies. The complexions of these two people also gradually turned from livid to white, and then from white to slightly red. In other words, the dark power possessed by the two of them is becoming increasingly rare. Otherwise, their expressions would not change at all. After changing his expression, Lin Yu in front of him was silently feeling the changes of the dark holy sword. Now the dark sword also feels the call of Caecilius. He also left Lin Yu's place quickly. It also came to Caecilius' hands quietly. After Caecilius felt some power coming from the dark holy sword, he was also extremely surprised. Because the power in the holy sword is the pinnacle of what I have absorbed. In other words, all the dark powers in Bono and Moto's bodies have been absorbed. All returned to the dark holy sword. He didn't understand how Lin Yu did it. He also had mixed feelings here, and was extremely decadent. At this moment, Lin Yu was also speaking quietly to Bono and Modu in front of him. You two, if you are awake, then open your eyes and look at me. If I don't wake up, I will take action again. I wish you sobriety. Quote. After saying this, the two people in front of them gradually heard Lin Yu's call. They also opened their eyes one after another. They had no idea what they had just experienced. They remembered that they were contending with Caecilius just now, and a black power poured in directly. They also failed, but why do they act like nothing happened now? They also hope that Lin Yu can explain to them in disguise. Lin Yu also said silently to these two people here. You were assimilated by the power of darkness just now, and I rescued you. Now these two people are also extremely grateful, and Lin Yu also bowed deeply to Lin Yu here. It can be said that Lin Yu is their reinvented parent. And he is also their eldest brother, so they are grateful to their eldest brother. What kind of relationship is there? At this moment, Lin Yu also wanted Caecilius to leave here. Because he didn't welcome Caecilius' arrival here at all. Lin Yu also pointed at Caecilius's nose and said, now that the problems have been solved, are you still here? Are you shameless or do you want to be killed by me? Lin Yu was not surprised at all, and once again showed his full strength. Caecilius also let out a long sigh here. Today is really a waste of money. After all, Caecilius has been seriously injured by Lin Yu, but he still doesn't forget to say harsh words to Lin Yu. He also said to Lin Yu, just wait, one day I will remember all the grudges of today very clearly. Then I will make you pay everything. Quote, this is what Lin Yu wants to hear most. Because Caecilius uttered the words knife. That proves that it is impossible for him to fight with himself now, and he will definitely leave. Lin Yu also released his domineering power. He also wanted to help the two people in front of him regain their strength. After looking at the two of them silently, he also said to them, you need me here to help you regain your strength. But the two people looked at each other silently, and then nodded very quickly. Lin Yu also released all his domineering energy, and the two people in front of him also recovered at an extremely fast speed. After they recovered, they expressed their respect to Lin Yu here. They are really scared, because once they are assimilated by the power of darkness, and let the power of darkness remove all the power from them, they will really have accidents and die. By that time, no matter what they do, there will be corresponding problems. At this time, Lin Yu in front of him also said to the two of them, Caecilius' side should not attack us now. Although this is temporary, there is no need for you to worry anymore. Quote, Caecilius is also extremely angry now. He also discovered it after returning to his territory. All the dark power within the bodies of many of his subordinates collapsed. He didn't understand what was happening. He checked it out here too. He discovered that not only the dark power of these people, but also his own power was disappearing bit by bit. Even he himself had some trouble figuring out where he was going. He is also very panicked now. Could it be that the power of darkness feels that it is too useless and is unwilling to follow it and choose another master? But now he still has the dark holy sword in his hand. Logically speaking, if the power of darkness chooses its master again, shouldn't the dark holy sword know about it in advance? He also asked about the dark holy sword in disguise, and the long sword also muttered to Caecilius in front of him. You don't have to worry about anything, I can feel it. The current dark power may have poured into the new host of darkness. The power of this host is comparable to yours. So the two of you should be able to cooperate. Quote, Caecilius didn't know about the new host, and he was also filled with questions here. But since his dark power will not disappear, it can be because he still needs this power to fight against Lin Yu. If he doesn't have this power, how will he fight against it? He will also remember some of the insults Lin Yu gave him. Now Lin Yu has also taken out all the things he has, especially the leg skills, and the perception of spiritual power. Lin Yu also handed it over to the people in front of him, and he also said quietly to the people in front of him, "Everyone, now you can also feel my legwork and my mental strength. It must be much stronger than you. Do you want to study? I can also teach it to you." Quote, the two people also cheered. Who doesn't want this kind of thing? It's not just them, even other people want it very much. At this time, Lin Yu also injected the control of his leg skills and mental power into the minds of the two. Now Bono and Moto also silently feel the essence of this kick method. They even felt the improvement this spiritual power brought to them. They were also looking at each other silently here. However, Lin Yu at the moment also made them understand carefully. He still had other things to do, so it was inconvenient for Lin Yu to supervise the two of them. Now these two people are also meditating here one after another. Lin Yu was thinking about when he would be able to negatively approach Caecilius. If this person is not destroyed for one day, he will remain in Lin Yu's heart for one day. Lin Yu thought for a long time, and after a long time he was ready to take the initiative. However, he also felt that the power of darkness became more intense. Lin Yu is also full of questions now. Could it be that Caecilius is practicing some kind of skill again? But he shook his head when he thought of this. Because once Caecilius practices, he will be able to feel it. But now I don't feel it, which proves that this is not Caecilius. But where do these dark powers come from? Now Lin Yu also has mixed feelings. If the investigation does not reveal the whereabouts of this dark force, something very important will happen. Perhaps Lin Yu will meet the biggest enemy in his life. This is what Lin Yu doesn't want to see, and what everyone doesn't want to see. Who wants to see an enemy more powerful than them? Already have a Caecilius. If there was one more person, Lin Yu would still be allowed to live. Now the power of darkness has gradually found its host. All these dark powers poured into this person. The person in front of him also silently endured these dark powers. After Mo Tian roared here, he became the new host of the power of darkness. And the light on him is also extremely dazzling. He also said silently here to the power of darkness in front of him. Now you have chosen me. So what kind of instructions do you have? The power of darkness wants people like this. Since he has chosen this person, he also hopes that this person can create certain value and income for him. Otherwise, why would he choose the devil in front of him? He also said to Modian, "You've got half the power on my side." The remaining half of the power was also in Caecilius' hands. Now I also hope that the two of you can reach a cooperation. The only thing you have to do in this cooperation is to find Lin Yu. Even if he is seriously injured times, he still needs to get the confidential documents in his heart. Quote, after saying this, the power of darkness left quietly. Now Modian also understands. After I find Caecilius today, I will reach a cooperation with him. And we have to discuss it with him. He wanted to see what Caecilius's strength was like. If this person's strength is too low, he will not cooperate with this person at all. He must have had some discussion before cooperating. Here he also arrived at many islands at extremely fast speeds. He is now questioning everyone one by one to see if anyone knows about Caecilius. However, after these people heard Caecilius's name, they simply ignored the demon in front of them. Because they knew Caecilius was a heinous man. So they have no gratitude at all to Caecilius, and they don't want to face Caecilius. They also said to Modian, if you want to find this person, then I advise you to forget it. This person is cruel, and he also uses his dark power to assimilate many people. So now we are very afraid of him, and we also shy away from him. Quote, the demon in front of him asked where Caecilius was, but these people didn't tell him. Does he also want him to use the power of darkness to control these people? Modian also released his dark power. Now he is also threatening these people in disguise. These people were also quite speechless. They thought that the power of darkness could only be possessed by Caecilius, but now another person appeared. They also told this person the specific location of Caecilius. But these creatures and people now may be in the most difficult position, and may also be the most embarrassing. Because if they are injured, they are seriously injured. And if these two people dare to find trouble with Lin Yu, wouldn't it mean that? Now even if Bono and Modu are all here to help Lin Yu, it will have no effect. Lin Yu will still be beheaded if he should be beheaded. Now they are also worried about Lin Yu. They also wanted to go and notify Lin Yu, but they also found out. No matter how they deal with it, they can't find Lin Yu's place. They also let out a long sigh. Modian also found Caecilius very quickly at this time. He also saw this person's men, and he said to these people. Announcement, I want to see your leader Caecilius. These people now don't know where this person came from, so why should they meet their leader? Is it possible that their leader can be seen by anyone he wants? They are here to protect the dignity of their leader. They also said silently here to Mo Tian in front of them. Who are you? The leader who is looking for us. If you have anything to say, you can say it here. If you don't say anything here, then you can leave. Quote. After saying this, Modian also released his dark power. Could it be that all these people would not shed tears without seeing the coffin? After releasing the power of darkness, the people in front of them also felt that these powers of darkness were so powerful. They also told Caecilius very quickly. There is someone outside with powerful dark power. After saying this, Caecilius raised his head at the moment. It seems that what is supposed to come has come. This may be the host of the power of darkness. He also carried his dark holy sword and came directly to the door of his territory. He also discovered that Modian turned out to be a heroic man. He also looked at Mo Tian quietly and then said to him. Whose order did you follow to find me now? The power of darkness is so strong, can you come in and talk about it? Modian also strolled in. He also explained that he came here to find Caecilius just to achieve cooperation. I also feel that he has no other ideas except attacking Lin Yu. If the Caecilius in front of me can agree, everyone will be happy. If he couldn't agree, he would fight against Lin Yu alone and would not trouble the person in front of him. After Caecilius heard this, he quietly made some tea here. After that, he asked Mo Tian to drink some and slowly communicate with himself. However, Caecilius still wanted to test Modian's strength. He also threw his teacup directly towards Modian. If there is no corresponding reaction force and certain strength, it will be impossible to avoid it. However, Modian in front casually used his own hands to hold the wine glass in front of him. He also said to Caecilius, you don't have to test me here. You have half the power of darkness and I have it too. So you may not be able to beat me now. Quote. Caecilius still didn't believe that he was going to force out the strongest strength of Modian after all. Only in this way can he feel confident. He also took out his dark holy sword and slashed directly at the demon in front of him. However, at this time, Mo Tian also exerted his power to the fullest at an extremely fast speed. After he finished using it, he quietly absorbed some of the dark aura in the holy sword. He discovered that there was original power in the dark holy sword. He now also licked his lips, showing his greed. Caecilius in front of him also took action directly and controlled the sky. If he absorbed all these original powers, wouldn't he feel like crying without tears? The most important thing is how embarrassed I am. And he also needs these original powers to open the dark holy sword in front of him. He also said to Modian, don't absorb these original powers. If you want to join forces with me to fight against Lin Yu, then you must obey my orders. Quote. Modian can also feel that his strength is indeed worse than Caecilius. Then just follow this person's instructions, and it won't do you any harm anyway. Even if the two of them can't defeat Lin Yu, they can still escape after all. Caecilius also named some of Lin Yu's accomplices. That's Bono and Mordo. The man in front of him also let out a long sigh after learning the news. He has never taken these two accomplices seriously. Is this what worries Caecilius so much? Caecilius continued to speak at this time. You don't understand at all, Lin Yu is actually a magic book. But now Lin Yu has also transformed into a human form. That means that some of the things in his magic books are all Lin Yu's own. Quote. At this moment, Mo Tian in front of him didn't want to communicate too much. He just wanted to hear Caecilius tell him when to attack Lin Yu. When can Lin Yu be killed? The two of them will divide this place. The current subordinates also came over one after another and reported the specific location of Lin Yu. That means Lin Yu is wantonly invading other people's territory and also gaining some opportunities from others. Caecilius also burst out laughing after hearing this. He felt that this was an opportunity. On his side, he only needs to go with Mo Tian. As for his subordinates, they may not need to wear them. Because once you take these subordinates with you, that would distract you from worrying about these subordinates. If they were seriously injured, would he rescue these men or launch an attack on Lin Yu? Mo Tian also figured it out. Since he wants to cooperate with Caecilius, he must obey Caecilius completely. Even if he failed, he could still rely on Caecilius, and he would never let this man blame himself. After he figured this out, he burst out laughing. He also said quietly here to Caecilius in front of him. Let's go. They also left here directly. Many subordinates also sent them off respectfully. But now Lin Yu has also discovered a series of problems. At this moment, Lin Yu also took out the wine he was carrying. After that, he also asked the two people in front of him if anything important had happened recently. These two people also had no idea. But don't the previous dark powers count? Why didn't Lin Yu go and check it out? Lin Yu thought of those dark powers and led the two of them away directly. He also came to the place where Mo Tian became the host of the power of darkness. He felt that the power of darkness here was very huge. Now he is also here quietly speaking to Bono and Modu in front of him. You two, can you feel what kind of people are here? Why does the power of darkness flow in here for him to absorb? The two people in front also felt it. They felt that the person here might be Mo Tian. But these dark journeys may be looking for new hosts. After hearing this sentence, Lin Yu's first thought was, could it be that there is something wrong with Caecilius now? Otherwise, why would you look for a new host? Is the power of darkness so idle? Lin Yu didn't believe it. Just when Lin Yu came here, Lin Yu saw that there were several islands of sound in this cave. And there is also a huge axe, which is obviously someone's weapon. And now this weapon looks very old. In other words, these people were also cannibalized by a powerful person. In the end, the weapons were left here as trophies. Lin Yu shudders every time he thinks of this. How cruel a person is to be able to swallow these things alive. He didn't hesitate, because he felt that there was a very unpleasant smell in this cave. Lin Yu also walked out quickly. At the moment, Lin Yu also felt that there were two dark forces pouring towards him in the distant sky. Lin Yu also said to the two of them, you two should also protect yourselves here with peace of mind. If what I expected is correct, Caecilius and the new host have also arrived here. Want to punish me? Quote. This sentence made the two people in front of them unwilling to believe it. Because once they attack Lin Yu, won't the two of them have many problems? Will they both be seriously injured or killed by that time? They also regretted following Lin Yu more and more. But when they followed Lin Yu before, they also got the corresponding opportunity 8. But now I regret it. If this matter is spoken out, even if the King of Heaven comes, there will be no reason to explain it. At this moment, Caecilius stood in front of Lin Yu silently. And beside Caecilius is the demonic sky. Lin Yu also looked around in all directions and said to the two of them, you two are the only ones here. Why don't you introduce the person next to you to me? Is it the new host of the power of darkness? It also made me gain knowledge. I have never seen the host of the power of darkness. What does it look like? After saying this, Lin Yu in front of him also looked at Caecilius in front of him silently. But here Mo Tian laughed at Lin Yu for not having seen a new host. Then isn't that what you are now? He also hopes that Lin Yu can put down his butcher knife. He also whispered to Lin Yu here, if you don't want to suffer physical pain, then I advise you to use these weapons in your hands now. And whatever is on your mind, leave it behind. I might still be able to forgive you. Otherwise, just weigh it in your mind. Quote. Lin Yu in front of him seemed to have heard the biggest joke in the world. Can anyone forgive themselves? Bono and Modo couldn't stand listening anymore. These two people also said to Lin Yu after tossing and turning here. What do you say to these two little minions and trash in front of you? Wouldn't it be better to attack directly? Quote. This sentence also made the two of them very excited. But Motian and Caecilius were extremely angry. Now Caecilius plus Dark Sword is released. Then he also split the Dark Holy Sword into two. Although their strength was greatly reduced, the strength of the two of them did gradually increase. After Motian held the Dark Holy Sword, he also felt the powerful strength on his side. He also spoke to Bono here quietly. You showed off your power to me before. He directly struck out with his sword. Bono in front of him also tried his best to resist. Because he had the moves Lin Yu taught him, he easily resisted. Motian was also very surprised that he could resist. Motian released it again, but it had no effect. Bono resisted everything, and now Motian also fell into self-doubt. Isn't the weapon in his hand more powerful than Bono's body? The sword energy released by the weapon can't defeat Bono's fist style. Now he is doubting himself more and more. Are you really the host of this dark power? Why are you so weak? After thinking for a long time, he looked at Lin Yu in front of him again. However, Lin Yu also asked the two of them to leave here at this time. As long as these two people leave now, Lin Yu will never attack these two people. But these two people seemed unable to understand the words. Lin Yu also directly summoned from his magic book. Lin Yu hasn't used this book for a long time. Lin Yu had just summoned the secretary and was here silently reciting the spell. These current books also show a certain power. After Lin Yu also shouted loudly, he also hit Caecilius's magic book on the head. Caecilius felt a little dizzy. He saw that the magic book was still hovering here, and he looked at the other party quietly. After that, he also wanted to pull the magic book into his hands. Because the magic book is Lin Yu's body. He also asked Motian to help him here. Bono and Modu also asked Lin Yu to call them when he was in danger, and they would definitely go all out to help Lin Yu. Lin Yu also patted the two of them on the shoulders. He would definitely yell if something happened, but if nothing happened, Lin Bao would not let these two people help him personally. He also asked these two people to keep their hearts in their stomachs. At this time, Lin Yu quietly used his magic book to fight against the two. However, he also asked Bono and Modu to sneak attack him, hoping to get rid of these two people. Even if they can't kill these two people, they still have to kill Motian. After Lin Yu said these words, everyone was chasing and blocking him here. However, Motian in front also saw that he was surrounded by Bono and Modu. He also looked at the other party here very quickly. He also wanted the two of them to stop, but these two had to kill Motian today. Otherwise, wouldn't they feel sorry for Lin Yu? Now Lin Yu is trying his best to fight against Caecilius. So they must help Lin Yu get rid of this bad temper. Just in front of this moment, several rays of power of the thunder and lightning fell in the sky. And these powers are perfectly placed on Lin Yu and Caecilius. Caecilius possesses the power of darkness, and what he fears most is the power of the thunder and lightning. He was also vomiting blood, but Lin Yu was not afraid of anything because he was not from here in the first place. Lin Yu also easily used this power and silently said to Caecilius, "Admit defeat to me, surrender to me. Otherwise, you will die here in this life." Quote. After finishing speaking, Caecilius in front of him was also reluctant. After all, there are still many great magicians under him who have not yet appeared. He didn't believe that if he sent out all the magicians, he wouldn't be able to kill Lin Yu in front of him. He now has the idea of escape, but if he runs away again and again, wouldn't it be ridiculed by everyone? Today, if Lin Yu wants to kill Motian, then he wants to kill Bono or Caecilius. After all, you can't let yourself suffer. He also secretly watched Lin Yu lose his mind. He also kicked Lin Yu and flew towards her. Moreover, his current target turned out to be Bono on the side, and Lin Yu also asked Bono to get out of the way quickly. It would be absolutely impossible if you were seriously injured by this person. Because Caecilius's power here is also extremely huge. After Bono also felt the crisis, he also looked at the other party silently. All this was resolved very quickly. Bono ran over and then blocked him. Both sides are chasing each other. However, Modu and Motian have also completed their communication here. That is, now the two of them are going to watch the show here. After all, this battle actually has nothing to do with them at all. As long as Caecilius dies, everything will be settled. Because Modian's strength cannot compare to Caecilius. That is to say, as long as Caecilius dies, these people will not be able to hold up the wall. At the moment, Lin Yu was also here silently looking at Bono, who had been rescued by him. Then he patted him on the shoulder. Caecilius, too, was furious here. After pointing at Lin Yu's nose and cursing a few words, he also told Lin Yu what he was going to do now. Lin Yu heard that this person actually wanted to kill Modu, which was absolutely impossible. Moreover, it was impossible for Modian to let Modu be killed. Because once Modu dies, he will also face death, and he cannot bet his own life. He was also laughing here, and Lin Yu also asked the person in front of him to try. If he could make it happen, he would never say a word. If he couldn't make it happen, Lin Yu would try to turn the tide. At this time, Caecilius also ran directly to Modian's side. But he didn't want to kill Modu, he just wanted to lead Demon Tien to escape. Because only by escaping can they occupy an invincible position. Modian never expected that the two of them would not be able to defeat each other after they had mastered the power of darkness. Modian thought of the most important question. That is, if the two of them cannot defeat each other, can they use the dark power of the two to integrate into one? At that time, you can completely use these dark powers and the origin of darkness. All of it is injected into their dark holy sword. At that time, who can resist the holy sword's direct attack? Modian also said these words secretly. At the moment, Caecilius also suddenly realized. If this is done, it seems that it can really be implemented. After thinking hard for a while, he formed a barrier of huge amounts in front of him. After he had condensed these barriers, he looked at Lin Yu silently. Then let Lin Yu wait peacefully for a short period of time before he kills Lin Bao. Lin Yu indeed sneered, but Bonuo and Modu quietly told Lin Yu here. Let him cut through the mess quickly and don't be submissive here. If it had always been like this and no measures had been taken, wouldn't it have been extremely embarrassing for the two people in front of them? What if Modian and Caecilius did something treacherous and really killed Lin Yu? The two of them wanted to cry without tears. Lin Yu also patted the two of them on the shoulders, and then asked them to put their hearts in their stomachs. Even if I die, I will not die in the hands of these two. In other words, the person who can kill Lin Yu has not yet appeared. Now Modian and Caecilius also have their hands on the Dark Holy Sword. The current Dark Holy Sword directly appears black. Moreover, the black dragons hovering around the body of the Holy Sword are also lifelike. Now that all the power of darkness has been injected into the Holy Sword, the Dark Holy Sword in front of him has also expanded dozens of times. Lin Yu also felt the pressure of the power of darkness, and he even felt the emergence of the God of Darkness. Now the shadow of the God of Darkness is actually holding the Dark Holy Sword in front of him, as if he wants to split Lin Yu's body. Lin Yu also asked everyone to transfer their domineering energy and the power of the fruit into his body. Now these two people couldn't care less. Because they also felt that the phantom released by Caecilius was too powerful. They also handed over all the domineering power and fruit power in front of them to Lin Yu at an extremely fast speed. Now Lin Yu also has endless power in his body. It can be said that Lin Yu is their big brother, and Lin Yu will definitely be able to solve it. This is their guess. Lin Yu also sighed quietly. Now Lin Yu is also here silently looking at the shadow in front of him. After that, he also said to Caecilius and Mo Tian. After you two condensed all your power into this phantom, then I will kill the shadow of the God of Darkness. How can you two escape? Since the two of them had released the phantom and gathered all the power of darkness, they had no intention of escaping. If they wanted to escape, they could definitely escape just now. So now they don't care at all, and they somehow told Lin Yu that they are not afraid. Therefore, whether Lin Yu can defeat the phantom in front of him is also something Lin Yu needs to consider. Lin Yu also struck out with a powerful blow here at extremely fast speed. Then I laughed out loud here. Because as soon as he finished chopping, he saw that the God of Darkness in front of him had been chopped into half by him. Doesn't this mean that we have succeeded here? But the God of Darkness used the remaining energy to counterattack and spit out a stream of flames. When Lin Yu was burned, the domineering energy in his body also burned quickly. At this time, Lin Yu was also silently reciting the spells in his magic book. After that, there were also colorful auspicious clouds falling in the sky, and a divine rain was also about to fall. The heavy rain also extinguished the flames on Lin Yu's body. Lin Yu also silently killed the phantom in front of him. However, after the shadow was killed, the dark holy sword in front of him was also very dishonest. He also wanted to compete with Lin Yu, but Lin Yu simply had no such leisure. At this moment, Caecilius also realized that his good deeds were about to fail, and he couldn't care less about anything. He was watching here, and Caecilius also ran away quickly, leaving Mo Tian here alone. Mo Tian never thought in his life that he would be abandoned by Caecilius in front of him. Because he believed that he had worked hard even if he had no credit, and the two of them worked together. So why can't he fight against Lin Yu? But now Mo Tian quietly knelt in front of Lin Yu here. Now he is also begging Lin Yu for mercy. But this black holy sword returned directly to Caecilius's hands. In other words, now that Caecilius has escaped, the power of darkness in his body can be restored by using the dark holy sword. But Mo Tian is a truly abandoned person. Lin Yu now also wants to show his injustice for Mo Tian, but he can't say more. Because Mo Tian himself has done such a thing now, he will be responsible for what he did. Lin Yu also waved his hand, and then Bono and Modu came here. Waiting for orders from Lin Yu, Lin Bao also wanted the two of them to think about it carefully. How to punish the devil in front of him. The two people also looked at a loss, if they wanted to kill this person. Maybe there's something wrong with it, if I don't kill this person and leave her here. He will definitely attack Lin Yu again in the future, so this is a dilemma. Lin Yu in front also said to Mo Tian after thinking for a long time. If you want to blame, just blame me for not having eyes. After I finally transformed from a magic book into a human form. But you want to kill me, so just stay here. Quote, Lin Yu also held the long sword in his hand and cut off the man's head directly. Lin Yu also clapped his hands after finishing the chop. He had never done anything like this so heartily. But after finishing today, all the haze in Lin Yu's heart disappeared. Lin Yu can now think about some of his thoughts on fighting Caecilius in the future. Because no one was blocking him, Lin Yu quietly looked at the two people in front of him. Then he also said to the two of them, Caecilius, you two want me to pursue you? Or let me think about it carefully here. Quote, these two people didn't know how to tell Lin Yu. They also communicated quietly here after making insinuations. Bono in front of him thought it would be best to pursue Caecilius now. Because the power in Caecilius's body is now very low. But there is another person, but Modu thinks that pursuing him now is absolutely impossible. Lin Yu's strength is also very weak. And now both parties have a certain origin, and no one can tell clearly now. Lin Yu also heard the discussion between the two and knew better. The two people were thinking deeply here. But he also saw clearly that these two people didn't think clearly at all. He also stood up directly and said to the two of them, Caecilius, there is no need for you two to communicate. I make my own decisions here. Just save Caecilius's life first. Let's see what he does next. If he still dares to attack us, should he still dare to attack us? Then we don't need to give him any face. Quote, after saying this, the two people in front of him also nodded to Lin Yu. After all, Lin Yu is the backbone here, and they must obey Lin Yu fully. Lin Yu says 1 means 1 and 2 means 2. They also said silently to Lin Yu, now that you have made a decision, we will no longer argue. After saying this, they looked at Lin Yu with admiration. Now Lin Yu also wants to go to the place where he hides the treasure before the two people in front of him. Because I also discovered it from the battle just now. My body alone and the power in the magic book were not enough to force the two of them to deal with each other. So he has to choose a series of treasures. But where did these treasures appear from? That is what Lin Yu has to consider. After all, the two people in front of them simply don't have that kind of time, nor do they have the ability to possess so many treasures. He also looked at the two of them quietly here, and then patted their shoulders and said, I want to take you to a place, are you willing to go there? The two people looked at each other suddenly and nodded. Now they also want to see where Lin Yu leads them. After all, this place must be recognized by Lin Yu. Moreover, Lin Yu also said that this place is extremely powerful and has many treasures. Maybe it's where he hides his treasure. Then these two people must definitely go and see it in person. Otherwise, it wouldn't be cheap, wouldn't it, Lin Yu? They also said to Lin Yu one after another, "Are you really going to take us to there? This won't do you any good." Lin Yu also burst out laughing. "Since I dare to take the two of them there, I completely trust these two people. Otherwise, why would he bring two people with him? Lin Yu never does that kind of thankless thing." Now Lin Yu also patted the two of them on the shoulders and said to them, "If you two want to follow me, then you can follow me. I will definitely be able to lead you. But if you don't want to follow, then you can stay here. Anyway, I can't guess whether you will share these treasures in the end." These two people never expected that Lin Yu would be so disrespectful to them. But now that Lin Yu has left, the two of them will definitely follow. Otherwise, these two people would lose many treasures. This is what the two of them cannot accept the most. After they quickly followed Lin Yu in front, they also came to an extremely hidden place. They also saw that there were many treasures here. Basically, there are 18 kinds of weapons, all of which appear here. These dazzling array of weapons now make the two people in front of them want to get them. The two people also looked at each other one after another. They also said to Lin Yu, "Do you think we can get these things?" Lin Yu was also very powerful here, patting the two of them on the shoulders. He also said to them, "Everyone, what is the purpose of bringing you here? If I don't want to give these treasures to you, then why did I bring you two here?" After saying this, both of them were in a daze. They also bowed to Lin Yu one after another. It seems that they were quite right to follow Lin Yu. Now they are also looking at Lin Yu here at extremely fast speed. There are so many dazzling things to choose from. After they finished selecting, they also let Lin Yu watch it. However, Lin Yu also obtained some essentials for releasing these weapons in the magic book. And he also found some tactics related to this weapon. If this was a long knife, Lin Yu found the knife technique for them. If it is a stick, Lin Yu has found the method. It can be said that Lin Yu took out all the things he had hidden for many years. Lin Yu is also extremely happy here. After all, his subordinates have gained something, which is that they have improved their strength. And this place doesn't belong to him at all, he found it out of nowhere. He also took this place as his own. When he was still a magic book, he had this geographical location in his heart. Now it's finally used. Now these two people also want to understand all the things Lin Yu gave them in front of Lin Yu. Lin Yu shook his head here. Because things are getting more and more important. Especially now that Caecilius has not been found. What if Caecilius attacked them here? Lin Yu also truthfully told the two people in front of him these words. He also hoped that after these two people obtained these treasures, they would follow him and fight against Caecilius. Don't make any nonsense. The two people also tossed and turned here at an extremely fast speed after snorting coldly. Even if they want to fight Caecilius, shouldn't they spread their power? And they also have to comprehend all of these things. Otherwise, what qualifications do they have and what means can they use to fight against it? They told Lin Yu what they said. But Lin Yu told them that there was no need to comprehend, because he was the king here. He also patted a few people on the head and asked them to follow him. Lin Yu knows exactly where Caecilius is now. At this time, Lin Yu also led the two people to find Caecilius at an extremely fast speed. He was also here quietly and saw Caecilius. He actually integrates his own power of darkness here, as well as the holy sword of darkness. He also silently felt the extremely pure power in his body. It was here that he said to Lin Yu in front of him, "Actually, I had guessed that you would come here. It's just that I didn't expect you to come so quickly." Lin Yu also didn't expect that Caecilius would be here, condensing strength. He also said to Caecilius, "You condense all these powers into your body. What benefits does it have for you?" After saying these words, Caecilius in front of him also released all the power of darkness. He has now condensed all the power of darkness. Moreover, the power in Modian's body also appeared in his body. In other words, he can now get rid of Lin Yu casually. But he also discovered the two people behind Lin Yu. He also said quietly here to Lin Feng in front of him. With these two people beside you, wouldn't it be a little abrupt if they want to defeat me? You should not have such ability. But after saying this, Lin Yu didn't care about that much. He believed that the two people beside him were absolutely invincible. He also said to Cassia here at an extremely fast speed. How about another round of battle between you and me? This sentence is also extremely righteous. Caecilius also widened his eyes. Lin Yu really dared to fight with him. Isn't Lin Yu afraid? He also pointed at Lin Yu's nose to confirm again. You also continued here. Do you think I'm joking now? Caecilius also smiled slightly and started to move directly. He also attacked Lin Yu secretly. Because he felt that Lin Yu was just holding on for a breath. He just finished fighting with himself and Mo Tian, and now he still has strength. He would never believe it. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.